Ladies and gentlemen, I want you to close your eyes for a moment. Just close them. Pause. 5 seconds. I want you to think about something. I want you to think about the last time you didn't start something because you were afraid it wouldn't be perfect. Maybe it was a business idea you had. Maybe it was a letter you wanted to write to someone you love. Maybe it was a workout routine you kept pushing to Monday. Maybe it was a dream so big, so wild, so audacious that you folded it up, tucked it deep inside your chest, and told yourself, not yet. I'm not ready yet. Pause. Open your eyes. Because I'm here to tell you today that not yet has been lying to you. That voice in your head that says wait until you're ready. Wait until you're perfect. Wait until the timing is right. That voice is not your protector. That voice is your prison guard. And today we are breaking out. Walk to the left side of the stage. My name is Priyanka Chopra. And if you know my story, and I mean really know it, not the red carpet version, not the magazine cover version, then you know that I am the last person on this earth who should be standing on a stage like this talking about perfection. Because perfection and I, we have a very long, very painful, very complicated history. I grew up in a military family in India. We moved constantly. New schools, new cities, new faces, new rules. Every single time I started to feel comfortable somewhere, we packed our bags and moved again. And when you're a child and that keeps happening, you start to believe something very dangerous about yourself. You start to believe that maybe the reason nothing lasts is because of you. Maybe you're not good enough to stay. Maybe you're not worth being known. Long pause. I was 14 years old when I was sent to America to live with relatives. 14. I didn't have my parents with me. I didn't have my friends. I didn't have my language, not fluently. I had a bag, a heart full of hope, and absolutely no idea what was waiting for me on the other side. And what was waiting for me? Racism, bullying, girls who would pull my hair in the hallway and call me names I will not repeat on this stage. Teachers who looked through me like I wasn't there. A world that looked at me and saw foreign, saw other, saw less than. Do you know what that does to a child? Do you know what it does to a young girl who is already trying so desperately to figure out who she is, to be told over and over again that who she is not enough? I went back to India. I was broken. I was confused. I was lost. And then a letter arrived. Pause. Let that land. My mother had submitted my photographs without telling me to the Femina Miss India competition. And somehow, through some miracle I still don't fully understand, I was selected. Now, I want to be very honest with you here. I did not walk onto that stage feeling like a queen. I did not walk onto that stage full of confidence and fire and belief. I walked onto that stage terrified. I walked onto that stage thinking about every single girl back in that school hallway who told me I was ugly, who told me I was too dark, who told me I didn't belong. I carried every one of those words with me like stones in my pockets. And you know what happened? I won. Pause. I won Miss India. And then I went on to win Miss World 2000. And here is the thing that nobody tells you about winning. Here is the thing they never put in the headline. Winning did not make those voices go away. Winning did not heal the wound. Winning did not make me feel perfect. Because perfection was never the point. The real point, was that I kept going even when I was terrified. I showed up even when I felt broken. I took the stage even when every part of me wanted to run. Walk back to center. That is what I want to talk to you about today. Not perfection. Progress. Because here's what I've learned after more than 2 decades in the most brutal, most beautiful, most unpredictable industries in the world. Bollywood, Hollywood, global business, global advocacy. I've learned that the people who change their lives are never the ones who waited until they were perfect. They are the ones who moved. Imperfectly, messily, fearfully sometimes, but they moved. Her voice drops lower, more intimate. Let me tell you about a woman I met a few years ago. I'm not going to use her real name. I'm going to call her Maya. Maya came to one of my events, and after the talk she waited. She waited until almost everyone had left. And she came up to me and she grabbed my hand and she said, "I have a story I need to tell you." Maya had wanted to be a writer her entire life. From the time she was 7 years old, sitting in her grandmother's kitchen in a small village in Maharashtra, filling notebooks with stories. Stories about dragons and queens and children who could fly. She was magic with words. Everyone who read her writing told her so. But somewhere between childhood and adulthood, something happened. The world happened. People told her writing wasn't a real career. Her father told her to study science, get a stable job, be practical. She listened. She buried the notebooks. She became an accountant. For 22 years, Maya was an accountant, her pause, and every single night, before she went to sleep, she would open the drawer of her bedside table, and inside that drawer was a single old notebook, the last one she had filled as a child. And she would hold it for a moment, and then she would close the drawer, and she would tell herself, maybe someday, when I'm more prepared, when I have more time, when things settle down. 22 years of someday. And then her mother got sick, and Maya had to take a leave of absence from work to be a caregiver. And in those long, quiet, heartbreaking hours sitting beside her mother's hospital bed, she started writing again. Not because the timing was perfect, not because she suddenly had confidence, not because she had taken a course or gotten a degree in creative writing. She wrote because she was in pain and she needed somewhere to put it. Her voice cracked slightly. Her mother passed away 8 months later, and 6 months after that, Maya published her first novel. It was not a perfect novel. She will tell you that herself. There are paragraphs she would rewrite. There are chapters that are too long. There is a scene in the middle that she says makes her cringe every time she reads it. But that book found its way into the hands of a young girl in a small town who was also grieving, who was also feeling like she didn't belong anywhere, who was also wondering if her voice mattered. And that girl wrote to Maya and said, "Your book saved my life." Hun, full stop. Silence. Tell me, what would have happened if Maya had waited to be perfect? That girl never gets that book. That girl never gets those words. That life goes unlived. And so I ask you right now, looking directly into your heart, what is in your drawer? What is the thing you have been folding up and hiding away, waiting for the perfect moment that will never come? Because perfect moments are not real. They are not a place you arrive at. They are not a destination on a map. Start walking again, more energy now. We have been sold a lie, a beautiful, seductive, deeply dangerous lie. And the lie sounds like this: get it right before you begin. You see it everywhere. You see it in the person who wants to start a business, but spends 3 years writing a business plan, because the plan isn't perfect yet. You see it in the student who wants to raise their hand in class, but doesn't because what if the answer is wrong? You see it in the artist who fills hard drives with unpublished work, because it isn't ready yet. It will never be ready because ready is not a real thing. Ready is something your fear invented to keep you exactly where you are. You see it in relationships. How many people have you seen? How many of you have been the person who won't say "I love you"? Because what if it comes out wrong? What if the timing is bad? What if they don't say it back? And so you swallow it, and you swallow it again. And one day you look up and the moment has passed, and the person has gone, and you are standing there holding all this love with nowhere to put it. Progress over perfection is not just a career strategy. It is a survival strategy. It is a love strategy. It is a life strategy. Her pause. Big breath. Now I want to talk about something that makes a lot of people uncomfortable. I want to talk about failure. Real failure. Not the Instagram version of failure, where someone shows you a photo of their lowest moment and tells you how they bounced back. I mean the kind of failure that is ugly and quiet and doesn't make a good story until much later. In 2008, I had what felt like the biggest opportunity of my career. I was being considered for a film, a massive film, a dream project, and I prepared for it more than I had ever prepared for anything. I worked on the character for months. I poured everything into those auditions. And I did not get the role. That is not the part that broke me. The part that broke me was what came after. Because when I didn't get that role, something shifted inside me. I started to question everything. I started to think, maybe I had been lucky all along. Maybe I wasn't actually talented. Maybe everything I had achieved up to that point was a fluke, a coincidence, a cosmic accident that was about to correct itself. Have you ever been there? That dark, quiet place where your own mind turns against you, where the voice in your head stops being a critic and becomes a prosecutor, where you are no longer just doubting a decision, you are doubting yourself, your worth, your purpose, your right to even try. How very quietly I've been there. I've sat in that darkness, and I want you to know it is survivable, but only if you keep moving. I did not get that role, and I spent 3 months feeling sorry for myself. 3 months that I will never get back. And then one morning, I remember it was raining in Mumbai, and I was sitting by the window with a cup of chai that had gone cold, and I just got tired. I got tired of being afraid. I got tired of waiting to feel ready. I got tired of letting one failure, one setback, redefine my entire identity. And I thought about something my father used to say to me when I was young. My father, who is no longer with us, and there is not a single day that goes by that I do not miss him like a physical ache in my chest. My father used to say, Mimi, that was his name for me. Mimi, you cannot steer a parked car. Pause. Let it breathe. You cannot steer a parked car. You have to move. You have to put the car in drive, even if you don't know exactly where you're going. Even if the road isn't clear. Even if your hands are shaking on the wheel. Because a car that is moving can be guided. A car that is standing still can only gather dust. After those 3 months, I moved. I said yes to projects I wasn't sure about. I said yes to a television show in America when everyone, and I mean everyone, told me it was career suicide for a Bollywood actress to do American television. I said yes to Quantico, and that show aired in 127 countries. That show made me the first South Asian actress to lead an American network drama series. Not because I was perfect, because I moved. Energy rising now. I want to talk to you about the word transform. It's in our title today. Transform your life. And I think sometimes that word can feel overwhelming. Transform sounds like a total overhaul. Transform sounds like you have to tear everything down and rebuild from scratch. Transform sounds like it requires a miracle, a lightning bolt, a vision in the night. But transformation, real transformation, does not work that way. Real transformation is incremental. Real transformation is the sum of 1,000 small decisions. Real transformation is choosing today, this moment, to take one small step in the direction of who you want to be. Even if that step is imperfect, even if that step is tiny, even if nobody sees it but you. Think about how a river carves a canyon. That is not a single dramatic event. That is water moving consistently, persistently, over rock, every single day, for thousands of years. The rock does not move on the first day, or the 100th day, or even the 1,000th day. But the water does not stop. The water does not look at the rock and say, this isn't working. I'm not making progress. I give up. The water just keeps moving. You are the water. The rock is whatever stands between you and your dream. The rock is the doubt. The rock is the fear. The rock is the setback. The rock is the person who told you that you weren't enough, that your idea was stupid, that people like you don't do things like that. Keep moving. Keep moving. Keep moving. Slow down. Get very personal now. I lost my father when he was very young. He was 57 years old. Cancer. And I remember sitting with him in those final weeks. And he would hold my hand. And he would talk to me about life. Not about death. Never about death. Always about life. And he would say, don't waste a single day, Mimi. Don't let a single day go by where you haven't moved towards something that matters to you. He was a man who never stopped moving. He was a man who never let perfection be the enemy of progress. He was a man who said yes to life with both hands. And when he left, I made him a promise. I promised him that I would not waste my days. I promised him that I would not let fear be louder than love. I promised him that I would not stand at the sideline of my own life, waiting for the perfect conditions that never come. I make that promise again today. And I am asking you, I am begging you to make it too. Pause. Look around the room. I've met so many people in my life who have extraordinary talent. Absolutely extraordinary. People who can sing like angels, write like poets, build like architects, think like philosophers. Gifted beyond anything I could describe. And so many of them, too many of them, die with that gift still inside them, still locked up, still waiting for the right moment. And I've also met people with average talent and extraordinary courage. People who had every reason to give up and didn't. People who were told no 100 times and showed up for the 101st time. People who stumbled and fell and got back up so many times they stopped counting the falls. And I will tell you, without any hesitation, without any qualification, the second group changes the world. Not always because they are the most talented, but because they are the most consistent. Because they chose progress over perfection every single day, until one day the accumulation of all those imperfect steps added up to something magnificent. Her building now. I think about Oprah Winfrey, who was fired from her first television job and told she wasn't fit for TV. I think about J.K. Rowling, who was a single mother on welfare, rejected by 12 publishers before Harry Potter changed children's literature forever. I think about Walt Disney, who was fired from a newspaper for lacking imagination. I think about Abraham Lincoln, who lost 8 elections before becoming one of the greatest presidents in history. I think about every woman in this room. Because I know you're here, I feel you, who has been told she is too much or too little, too ambitious or not ambitious enough, too emotional or too cold, who has been asked to shrink herself to fit into a room that was never designed for her. Don't shrink. Loud and clear, do not shrink. The world does not need a smaller version of you. The world needs the full, complicated, imperfect, powerful, magnificent, completely original version of you. Exactly as you are. Not when you lose the weight. Not when you get the degree. Not when you find the right partner or the right city or the right moment. Nanu. The world needs you now. Pause. Breathe. Walk slowly. Let me tell you about progress. Real progress. The kind you don't see in a day or a week or even a month. When I first moved to Hollywood, and I want to be real with you about this, it was not a triumphant arrival. I was not received with open arms. I was an Indian woman in an industry that didn't know what to do with me, didn't know where to put me, kept offering me roles that were stereotypes and caricatures, kept asking me to change my name because Priyanka Chopra was too difficult to pronounce. Let that land, too difficult to pronounce. A name my parents gave me with love. A name that carries my heritage, my history, my identity. Too difficult to pronounce. I said no. I said my name is Priyanka Chopra and you will say it correctly. That was a small act. One small act of refusing to erase myself. One small act of saying, I will not make myself smaller to fit into your comfort. One small act of choosing my own progress over your comfort. And then another small act. And then another. And then another. Do you see? That's how it works. It is never one giant leap. It is 1,000 small steps in the right direction. And sometimes you step backward. And sometimes you step sideways. And sometimes you stand still and catch your breath because standing still for a moment to breathe is not the same as giving up. It is necessary. It is human. It is part of the journey. But then you step forward again. Her new energy. Warm and powerful. I want to talk to you about what progress actually feels like from the inside. Because from the outside, it looks like a highlight reel. From the outside, it looks like a series of victories and milestones. But from the inside, it often feels like confusion. It often feels like you are stumbling in the dark. It often feels like you are making it up as you go because newsflash, you are. We all are. Nobody has a master plan. Nobody wakes up in the morning with perfect clarity about exactly what they are doing and why and where it is all going. The most successful people I know, and I have been privileged to know some extraordinary people, are not the ones with the perfect plan. They are the ones who are deeply, unapologetically committed to figuring it out as they go. They are curious when they could be certain. They are flexible when they could be rigid. They are humble enough to say, I was wrong, and brave enough to change direction when something isn't working. Progress is not a straight line. Progress is a spiral. You come back to the same themes, the same challenges, the same fears. But each time you come back, you are slightly different, slightly stronger, slightly more equipped. The fear doesn't disappear. You just get bigger than the fear. And quietly now, I want to speak to the person in this room, and I know you're here, who is carrying something very heavy right now. Maybe you've had a loss you haven't fully processed. Maybe you're in a situation you don't know how to get out of. Maybe you're looking at your life and feeling like you are so far behind where you thought you would be by now. Maybe you are comparing your chapter 3 to someone else's chapter 20 and feeling like a failure. I want to sit here with you for a moment. Harpaz, I want to tell you that where you are is not where you will always be. I want to tell you that the distance between where you are and where you want to be is not a measure of your worth. It is just a measure of the work that's left to do. And work can be done. Distance can be covered. Ground can be gained. One step at a time, not perfectly, just persistently. You are not behind. You are on a path that is specifically, uniquely, entirely yours. And the only person you need to be ahead of is the person you were yesterday. Are you a little bit better than you were yesterday? A little bit kinder, a little bit braver, a little bit more honest with yourself and the world. Then you are winning. Even if it doesn't look like winning from the outside. Even if nobody has given you an award or a standing ovation. Even if your progress is invisible to everyone but you. You are winning. Back to full energy. Now let's talk about the people who will try to stop you. Because they exist. Oh, they absolutely exist. And often they are the people who are closest to you. The people who love you. The people who mean well. They are the ones who say, be realistic. They are the ones who say, that's not practical. They are the ones who say, what makes you think you can do that? And here is what I have learned about those people. I have learned that their doubt is almost never really about you. Their doubt is a projection of their own fear. Their doubt is the voice of their own unlived dreams. When someone tells you that your dream is too big, what they are really saying, underneath all of it, is, I was too afraid to chase mine. You don't have to be angry at them for that. It is sad, actually. It is one of the saddest things in the world. A person who gave up on their own dream and has spent years making peace with that decision, and then along comes someone who hasn't given up, who is still trying, who is still moving, and suddenly all of that buried grief comes rushing to the surface disguised as advice. Have compassion for them. And then keep going. Because your life is not their decision. Your potential is not their assessment. Your future is not their forecast. Thundering now, you are the author of your story. You. Not your parents, not your critics, not the person who fired you or rejected you or told you no, not the algorithm that didn't pick your content, not the industry that wasn't ready for you, not the society that wasn't built with you in mind. Ooh. And authors don't wait for the perfect story to fall into their lap. Authors sit down every single day and they write. Sometimes what they write is beautiful. Sometimes what they write is terrible. Sometimes they write a sentence and then cross it out. Sometimes they write a whole chapter and then delete it. But they keep writing. They keep showing up at the desk. Because the story doesn't write itself. Your life doesn't live itself. You have to show up every day. Imperfectly, courageously, consistently. Slow down. Deep and powerful. I want to talk about sacrifice for a moment because I think we often get this wrong. We talk about sacrifice like it is always a loss. We say, I sacrificed this for that. And there is always a note of grief in it. Always a note of what we gave up. But I have come to believe that the real sacrifice, the most painful sacrifice, is not the sacrifice you make for your dream. The real sacrifice is the sacrifice you make when you give up on your dream. When you sacrifice your ambition for someone else's comfort. When you sacrifice your voice for someone else's silence. When you sacrifice your authentic self to fit into someone else's expectation of who you should be. That is the sacrifice that costs the most. That is the sacrifice that you pay for not once, but every single day for the rest of your life. Because you wake up every morning and you have to live inside that choice. You have to look in the mirror and face the person you decided not to become. I am not willing to make that sacrifice. Are you? How long pause I think about Malala Yousafzai, a girl who stood up for the right to education in the face of unimaginable terror, who was shot in the head by men who were afraid of a girl with a notebook, who should by every law of probability and physics have stopped, who had every conceivable reason to stop, and who instead became the youngest Nobel Peace Prize laureate in history. Not because she was perfect, because she was unstoppable. I think about Serena Williams, who has been told her entire career that her body was wrong, her style was wrong, her attitude was wrong, who has been compared to animals, who has had to fight not just her opponents on the court, but the racism and sexism that lives in the institutions of her sport, who has fought through pregnancy complications and near-death experiences to come back to that core again and again and again, not because it was easy, because it was worth it. I think about the small business owner who failed twice before the third time worked. I think about the teacher who stays late for the student everyone else has written off. I think about the mother who works 2 jobs and still finds time to make her children feel like the most important people in the world. I think about the man who is recovering from addiction, who makes it through one more day, and then one more, and then one more, building a new life out of nothing but will and grace. These are the people who transform their lives. These are the people who change the world, not in one dramatic gesture, but in the slow, quiet, daily accumulation of progress. Hello now, intimate. I want to give you something practical to take home from today, because I know that inspiration feels incredible in a room like this, with the music and the lights and the energy. And I know that the hard part is Monday morning. The hard part is when you're back in your regular life with your regular problems, and the speech is a memory, and the feeling has faded. So here is what I want you to do. I want you to identify one thing. Just one, not 10. Not a whole new life plan. One thing that you have been postponing because it isn't perfect yet. One thing that you have been holding in that drawer of yours that you have been telling yourself you will do someday when you are ready. And I want you to take one step toward it this week. Not a perfect step. Not a big step necessarily. One step. Write the first paragraph. Make the first phone call. Have the first conversation. Take the first class. Sign up for the first session. Send the first email. Just one step. And then next week, take another one. That is it. That is the entire strategy. That is how mountains are climbed and canyons are carved and lives are transformed. One step at a time. I'm building to the final movement now. I have traveled to almost every country in the world. I have sat in boardrooms with billionaires and walked through refugee camps with families who had nothing. I have been in rooms full of power and rooms full of grief. And the thing I have seen in every single corner of this earth, the thing that crosses every language and culture and economic boundary, is the desire to matter, the desire to mean something, the desire to leave something behind that says, I was here, I tried, I contributed something. That desire, that is not vanity, that is not ego, that is the deepest human need there is. And every time you chase perfection instead of progress, you are betraying that need. You are saying, my desire to get it right is more important than my need to show up. And the world goes without your contribution. And you go to sleep at night with that quiet ache that you might know very well. The ache of unused potential, the ache of the unlived life. I am not willing to live that way. I hope you are not either. Almost whispering now. Then building. Here is what I believe with everything I have. I believe that you were put here, On this earth, in this body, at this specific moment in history, with a specific combination of gifts and experiences and perspectives that no one else has, not one other person on this planet. Your particular mix of what you've been through and what you love and what breaks your heart and what makes you come alive, that is yours alone. It is the most valuable thing you possess, and the world needs it. Not a perfected, polished, sanitized version of it. The real thing, the messy, complicated, evolving still, figuring it out version of it. Because that version is true. And truth always finds its people. Truth always lands where it needs to land. Imperfect truth delivered with courage will always outperform perfect performance delivered from behind a wall. Harmful power now, standing tall. So I want to leave you with this. Stop waiting. Stop waiting for the perfect body to start living fully in the one you have. Stop waiting for the perfect relationship to learn how to love fully right now. Stop waiting for the perfect opportunity to build the skills you need for the one that's coming. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission to take up space in this world. You don't need permission. You were born with it. Stop measuring your progress against someone else's timeline. Your journey is yours. It has always been yours. And every detour, every delay, every failure, every setback,